I seriously didn't know that things got this bad for this Rachel Zegler Snow White movie, but I'm reading this right now, and I'm worried about Rachel Zegler's career. I don't see how she comes back from this.
There are empty theaters all around the country. We are now at a 1 out of 10 on IMDb for the new Snow White, and it couldn't happen to a better person.
Doesn't need a prince to save her, and not surrounded by 7 weird people. Oh, okay, just CGI fictional goblins, I guess.
Every time she speaks, she gets less likable.
She's now bragging about the success of Snow White, which is a movie that's going to lose hundreds of millions of dollars, and mainly because of her, and because nobody wanted to support her.
Controversy around the film began ever since we learned that there would be no Prince Charming because apparently he kissed her without consent, and also no woman needs a man to rescue her. The movie also used CGI for the 7 dwarfs rather than actors because they thought using real people would be offensive.
But you don't seemingly like your own character, so she comes off as an insufferable, whiny brat. Rachel Zegler is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
And if she hadn't have opened her mouth, I think that this movie might have done well. They might have just been able to ride on the hopium of the movie and some well-cut trailers, and people would have paid to go see it. And then it would have fallen off when people knew it was garbage.
I don't think they're gonna buy it. I don't think they're gonna watch it. I don't think they're gonna like it.
But Rachel Zegler made it so hateable that you really sabotaged and took hundreds of millions of dollars from the studio. I don't know how anyone would ever want to go into business with her.
Once upon a time, Disney thought they had a guaranteed fairy tale hit, but Rachel Zegler's controversial comments and creative decisions turned Snow White from a beloved classic into a $300 million box office bomb that has retailers pulling merchandise from shelves and executives questioning everything. Hey there, glamour gossips. It's your girl Maggie here with MAGGIE Talks, and oh my God, we need to talk about the Snow White catastrophe that has Hollywood buzzing and Disney executives sweating through their designer suits. This isn't just another movie flop, honey. This is a full-blown PR disaster that's making history for all the wrong reasons. The numbers don't lie. Disney's live-action Snow White remake is projected to lose over $115 million, making it one of the company's biggest financial disasters in recent memory. It's currently sitting at a shocking 1.6 out of 10 on IMDb. That's not a typo, people, 1.6. But how did a beloved fairy tale with a massive budget and star power collapse so spectacularly? And is Rachel Zegler's career officially over? Let's spill all the tea. Rachel Zegler's take on Disney's Snow White was supposed to usher in a bold new era for the classic fairy tale. Instead, her controversial comments about the original 1937 film may have set the stage for one of Disney's biggest disasters. So what exactly did she say that caused such an uproar? During early promotional interviews, Zegler didn't hold back her opinions about the original Snow White. She called it outdated and described Prince Florian as a guy who literally stalks her. Yes, you heard that right. She labeled one of Disney's most iconic characters a stalker. While some applauded her for challenging old tropes, many fans were outraged, accusing her of disrespecting a beloved classic while being cast as its lead. But Zegler didn't stop there. She doubled down, declaring that her version of Snow White would not be saved by the prince or dreaming about true love, but instead would focus on becoming a leader. This fundamental shift in the story alienated traditional Disney fans who cherished the original themes of love and magic. Critics quickly labeled it woke feminism gone wrong, and social media erupted with memes and backlash. What made these comments particularly damaging was their timing. While most promotional interviews aimed to generate excitement and nostalgia, Zegler's remarks seemed to tell potential audiences that the original Snow White, a film many grew up loving, was problematic and no longer relevant. Even David Hand Jr., son of the original Snow White director, publicly criticized the remake, saying, "There's no respect for what Disney or my father did. Walt and my dad would be turning in their graves." Some industry insiders suggest Disney executives were blindsided by Zegler's comments. One former Disney PR executive reportedly told colleagues, "There are ways to discuss modernizing classics without insulting the original." This created an immediate marketing challenge. How do you sell a film when your lead actress seems to actively dislike what made it?
Rachel is literally the star of a Disney movie, and she acts like she's some sort of victim, and that's the sort of mentality that is just poisoning people's minds. Like, she acts like her life is so bad.
Yeah, we had more dwarfs than we did viewers in most of these theaters. And as you know, there were no dwarfs other than some CGI weird generated version of them.
You know the say, go woke, get broke, and Disney's going to lose money on this movie. And I believe it only made less than $1 million in China.
Do you know, how hard it is to find an attractive young woman in Hollywood who can act and sin? It's not hard. Like, who just isn't going to offend half the country?
This truly is the worst casting, maybe, in the history of the film industry.
Disney's Bob Iger says their mission is to entertain, not send messaging as Snow White sales compete for worst performing live-action Disney adaptation ever.
I truly do believe that. There's something wrong with her. She's disturbed, she's unhappy. The reality is she's just not stable, like the majority of people in Hollywood. They're just not stable human beings. I would highly advise that you boycott this film, no matter how much your children love Snow White.
Don't alienate half of the country when you're putting out a product meant to appeal to all. It's the Michael Jordan Republicans buy sneakers too. They spent $170 million to make the thing, and it had the lowest opening, under $50 million, of any of these live action Disney remakes that they've ever had.
Some of you want us to hire actual dwarf humans, and then we thought we would have CGI magical creatures. How about this? We'll still offend the dwarves, but we'll CGI dwarf.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, how badly did Disney's new Snow White flop after all?
And if you disagree with this sentiment, I don't need your business. Thanks.
You know, I don't need your business. You know what? Maybe Disney does. Maybe you're a tool, you're a pawn in this film. You didn't write it. You didn't direct it. You have nothing to do with the creation of Snow White.
Right.
You should shut up and do the job.
Now, let's talk about the creative decision that had fans scratching their heads and reaching for their pitchforks. Disney's live-action Snow White remake was meant to reimagine the classic fairy tale for modern audiences, but Rachel Zegler's bold rewrite, removing the prince and love story, has sparked outrage among fans. Did this controversial decision alienate Disney's core audience? In interviews leading up to the film's release, Zegler made it clear that her version of Snow White would be very different from the 1937 original. She stated, "She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be." This dramatic shift from the original narrative was praised by some as empowering, but criticized by many as unnecessary. Fans argued that Snow White's love story wasn't just a subplot, it was central to the magic and charm of the original. Disney doubled down on these changes by completely removing Prince Florian and replacing him with a new character named Jonathan, described as a Robin Hood-esque bandit. Unlike the original prince, Jonathan is not a romantic savior, but a companion in Snow White's rebellion against the evil queen. While Zegler defended this decision as realistic, critics accused Disney of sacrificing beloved elements of the story in favor of pushing an agenda. As one viral tweet put it, if you change the prince, change the dwarfs, change the plot, and change the message, is it even Snow White anymore? Or is it just a random movie wearing Snow White's costume? This creative decision highlighted a fundamental question that's been haunting Disney's live-action remakes. If you change the core elements that made the original beloved, is it still the same story? Many fans felt betrayed, arguing that without the prince, the magical kiss, and the romantic fantasy, this wasn't Snow White anymore. It was something entirely different. But wait, it gets worse. Disney's live-action Snow White remake has been surrounded by controversy, but one of its most divisive decisions was replacing the iconic seven dwarfs with CGI magical creatures. Did this move erase opportunities for actors with dwarfism and alienate fans? Let's break it down. The original 1937 Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is a cornerstone of Disney's legacy, with the dwarfs playing a central role in the story. But in the live-action remake, Disney opted for computer-generated characters instead of casting real actors with dwarfism. The studio claimed this decision was made to avoid reinforcing outdated stereotypes, but critics argue it did more harm than good. Disability activists and performers have slammed Disney for taking away rare acting opportunities for little people in Hollywood. Actor Peter Dinklage, who has dwarfism, criticized Disney early on, calling the decision backward and questioning why they didn't modernize the roles instead of erasing them entirely. Other performers like Ali Chapman and Chun-Tan called the move a total travesty and damaging to their careers. Chapman pointed out that 7 roles were available for actors with dwarfism, but Disney chose CGI instead. This controversy created the perfect PR storm for Disney. Trying to appear progressive by avoiding stereotypes, they ended up being criticized from all sides. Conservative viewers called it performative wokeness, while disability advocates argued it was actually regressive by erasing valuable representation. It seemed Disney couldn't win, and insiders suggest the studio severely underestimated how this decision would be received by the public. One source close to the production claimed Disney spent an additional $30 million on the CGI for these magical creatures, money that could have gone to actual performers. Instead, the characters ended up looking uncanny and soulless, furthering the criticism that this remake remake prioritized messaging over authentic storytelling and representation.
I've been getting a lot of questions about, how do I feel? Let's address the elephant in the room.
I just wanted to go on this little baby rant about Rachel Zegler, Disney's worst investment ever in the history of Disney investments.
Rachel Zegler is a loudmouth dope.
Snow White producer's son blames Rachel Zegler for poor box office.
She has this underlying anger and hatred in her that always has to take it one step too far. So first and foremost, we're going to be cast as Snow White. Maybe appreciate the original Snow White.
She's not going to be safe with the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love.
God forbid a woman dream about true love. We're all just sitting around here, maybe I could be president one day. I hate men, I just want to be president.
Fastest way to tank your career, go out there and start running your mouth and trashing the original IP of the film you're in.
Great. Okay? It's great. I'm honored. I don't know why I sound so angry right now. I'm honored. Am I a psychopath?
Rachel Zegler's portrayal of Snow White was supposed to be a defining moment in her career, but her response to the overwhelming backlash surrounding the film has only intensified criticism, and some say it's made everything worse. Did her perceived arrogance and disconnect from reality turn fans against her? Let's break it down. After Snow White opened to catastrophic box office numbers, earning just $43 million domestically in its opening weekend, critics and fans alike were quick to call out Zegler's role in the film's failure. Viral clips of empty theaters and scathing reviews flooded social media, with many blaming Zegler for alienating audiences before the movie even premiered. But instead of addressing the backlash humbly, Zegler reportedly doubled down. She dismissed critics as toxic and bragged about the film's success, claiming it was still the #1 movie in the world, despite evidence to the contrary. Her perceived attitude didn't stop there. Zegler demanded pay for every hour she spent wearing the Snow White dress during filming, a comment that fans found tone-deaf given the film's disastrous reception. In her exact words, "Every one of the 18 hours I'm in the Snow White dress, I expect to get paid. If it's 18 hours, I want 18 hours of pay." One viral post summed up public sentiment. If you hate the role so much, why take it? Critics accused her of acting like a victim while simultaneously alienating Disney's core audience. As one commentator put it, Rachel Zegler is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged. Another added, she comes off as an insufferable whiny brat. This perception has only grown as the backlash intensified, with some suggesting Zegler sabotaged and took hundreds of millions of dollars from the studio. The question now being asked in Hollywood circles, how could anyone ever want to go into business with her again? Disney's live-action Snow White was supposed to be a guaranteed hit, but instead it's become one of the studio's most infamous box office disasters. With record-breaking losses, abysmal audience scores, and scathing reviews, this remake has cemented itself as a cautionary tale in Hollywood. So what went wrong? Let's dive into the numbers and the fallout. The film opened to just $43 million domestically, making it the lowest opening weekend for any Disney live-action remake ever. For comparison, even Dumbo, widely considered a flop, managed $46 million in its debut. Globally, Snow White scraped together $87 million in its first 3 days, far below the 9-figure expectations for a movie with a reported $270 million production budget. But the real disaster came in its second weekend, with ticket sales plummeting by an unprecedented 70%. Critics called it a record-breaking drop that shattered previous lows for Disney remakes. Audience reception was equally brutal. On IMDb, the film holds a shocking 1.6/10 rating, one of the lowest scores for any major studio release in recent memory. Rotten Tomatoes isn't much kinder, with critics giving it just 44%. Reviewers slammed the movie as charmless, uninspired, and mediocre. Even fans who typically defend Disney remakes called it soulless and a chaotic mess. Industry insiders are calling this one of Disney's biggest money pits ever, with projected losses exceeding $100 million. As one source put it, this movie flatlined at around $168 million worldwide, especially after being crushed by competition from films like Minecraft, which earned over $301 million globally in just weeks. The disaster has supposedly caught the attention of Disney CEO Bob Iger, who reportedly stated, "Our mission is to entertain, not send messaging," as Snow White continues to underperform. Is this a sign that Disney might be reevaluating its approach to live-action remakes? And could this financial catastrophe lead to significant changes within the studio? Disney's Snow White remake has faced backlash from fans, critics, and even its own stars, but now the fallout has reached an entirely new level. Independent retailers are pulling Snow White merchandise off their shelves, calling it toxic inventory. How did a fairy tale turn into one of Disney's biggest PR nightmares? Let's break it down. The decision by shop owners to remove Snow White products comes after months of controversy surrounding the film. From Rachel Zegler's polarizing comments about Prince Florian being a stalker, to the removal of the dwarfs in favor of CGI'd magical creatures, fans have been vocal about their dissatisfaction. The backlash intensified after the movie opened to dismal box office numbers, earning just $43 million domestically on its first weekend, making it one of Disney's worst-performing live-action remakes ever. Retailers are reportedly struggling to sell Snow White merchandise, with one shop owner describing the products as unsellable. They claim customers have actively avoided anything related to the film, citing widespread negative sentiment online. As one retailer bluntly stated, "If you disagree with the sentiment, I don't need your business." This unprecedented merchandise rejection is sending shockwaves through Disney's consumer products division, which typically counts on merchandise sales to boost overall revenue for major releases. Insiders suggest the studio may have printed millions of dollars worth of products that are now sitting in warehouses, unsold, and increasingly unwanted by retailers. Some conspiracy theorists suggest Disney might have intentionally let Snow White fail to shift the narrative away from their other controversies. Could this be a calculated move to reset expectations for future remakes? Others speculate that there might be behind-the-scenes battles between Disney's creative teams and marketing department, with each blaming the other for the film's failure. Has Disney's merchandise empire finally hit its breaking point with consumers? And what does this mean for the future of the Snow White brand, once one of Disney's most valuable princess properties? As we reach the end of our deep dive into the Snow White disaster, one thing becomes crystal clear. What should have been Disney's triumphant revival of its first animated feature has instead become a cautionary tale that will be studied in film schools and marketing classes for years to come. The Snow White controversy raises fascinating questions about the future of Disney's live-action remakes. Can beloved fairy tales survive modern scrutiny? Should studios cast actors who personally connect with the original material, or is it acceptable to have stars who publicly critique the source? And where's the line between updating classics for contemporary audiences and alienating fans who cherish the original? For Disney, the financial implications are significant, with Snow White projected to lose over $115 million. Shareholders are demanding answers. Reports suggest the studio has already paused development on several planned remakes, including Bambi and Hercules, while executives reassess their approach. Industry analysts speculate this could mark the end of Disney's aggressive live-action remake strategy that has dominated their slate for nearly a decade. As for Zegler, her future remains uncertain. At just 23, she has time to rebuild her career, but the Snow White controversy will likely follow her for years to come. As one insider put it, this truly is the worst casting maybe in the history of the film industry. Will studios take a chance on her for major projects, or will she need to prove herself in smaller roles before regaining Hollywood's trust? Only time will tell if this is merely a stumbling block or a career-defining setback. But wait, this story isn't over yet. In our next Maggie Talks exclusive, we'll be revealing shocking behind-the-scenes information about tensions between Zegler and other cast members that Disney tried desperately to hide. Plus, we've uncovered which A-list directors turned down the Snow White project after reading the script, calling it unfilmable and a betrayal of everything that made the original special. We'll also be analyzing the secret focus group data that warned Disney executives about potential backlash months before the film was released. Did they ignore clear warning signs? And which Disney executives are now updating their resumes as Bob Iger reportedly demands accountability? Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our follow-up investigation, where we'll be exposing the shocking creative decisions that doomed Snow White from the start and what this means for the future of Disney's live-action ambitions. This has been Maggie Talks' deep dive into the Snow White disaster. Remember, in Hollywood, happy endings aren't guaranteed, especially in fairy tales. Until next time, this is Maggie saying keep it glamorous, keep it gossipy, and above all, keep it real.